What Mercedes just decided is insane. So we're going to be going through that in today's video and 4 other stories. So make sure to like this video, and if you want more Mercedes F1 content like this, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hitting that red button down below. But let's get into the first story, because Mercedes have made a decision that they want Mick Schumacher as a reserve driver. Toto Wolff has been seen as the best Mercedes ever since the turbo hybrid era began in 2014. It's no secret that he's always had an eye for talent, and Mercedes had boasted a stellar driver pairing ever since the Austrian took over the reins at the Silver Arrows. Safe to say, he knows what he's saying when it comes to F1 drivers. When Mick Schumacher entered Formula 1, naturally all the eyes were on him. Sadly, with the conclusion of the 2022 season, we won't be seeing the German on the grid for a while. However, back when he just finished his debut season in the sport, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff had a very different appraisal for Schumacher's future in the sport. Talking to ORF, Wolff said his father is the most iconic racing driver F1 has ever had. On the other hand, you don't make it into F1 without talent and performance. I know Mick personally. He's a pretty decent kid who's an incredibly strong personality and good character. He is intelligent, and I'm actually convinced that he can do great things in F1. Wolff isn't the man to second guess himself, even though after a squalid 2022, Schumacher finds himself without a seat next year. The Silver Arrows boss is adamant to make something happen for the young German. It seems that Toto Wolff has actually kept the door open for Mick Schumacher. Mick Schumacher is without a Formula 1 seat for 2023, and Mercedes is without a reserve driver. Well, as it turns out, it could be a match made in heaven, and according to boss Toto Wolff, he is as eager as anyone to make that happen. Wolff was quoted by Sky Germany saying, "Mick is someone that has always been close to our heart because of Michael or the whole Schumacher family. We believe that we can look after him if the situation were to happen, and with someone that just fits the team. I think he deserves a place now, and we have to see if we can do something." So Toto Wolff seems like he's adamant on doing anything in his power to get Mick Schumacher over to Mercedes, and it would be great honestly for Mercedes to have someone like Mick Schumacher as a reserve driver. Not only will it keep him in the sport, but I think it's fantastic due to the fact that when it comes to Mercedes and the reserve driver that did leave, Nick de Vries, I think he would be a great replacement for it. Now, getting into the second story, George Russell got to know Mercedes in a bad season, and that there was a lot of tension. Now, Williams talent George Russell made his debut for Mercedes in 2022 and was unlucky that the championship team lost its leading position in that very year. The Briton got to know the team at a precocious time. After 8 titles in a row, Mercedes had to work its way up to a considerable deficit to the front during 2022. It proved too late for the team and drivers Russell and Lewis Hamilton to catch up with Red Bull Racing and Ferrari. Red Bull took the constructors title and Max Verstappen took the drivers title, but Mercedes still almost managed to beat Ferrari. They did not succeed, but Mercedes showed resilience and grew up a lot during this season, and Russell even won a race. In the High Performance podcast, Russell talks about what it's like to get to know the dominant team over the past decade during the down period. I think for sure the dynamic would have been slightly different had we arrived at the first race and had the fastest car on the grid. A lot of questions were asked. There's been a huge amount of late nights throughout the season. A lot of tension at times between drivers' teams, designers with regards to, are we on the right track? Now, Russell gives a little look behind the scenes at Mercedes and how the team recovered Russell. These were very difficult conversations that we come away from them closer together, and we've got such a great relationship in Mercedes that we are now all pushing in one direction. Whereas perhaps, say the Briton concluding, if you arrive at the very first race and your car was the quickest, you go back to the thought that everything is a little too easy. In doing so, Russell does betray that he is up for a stiff challenge. The Mercedes driver thought he would get away from Williams and immediately show what he can do at the front, but his patience was further tested and he has been given that challenge. So it is great to have someone like George Russell finally racing for Mercedes, and with next year coming up, Mercedes could be back with the top spot and George Russell and Lewis Hamilton fighting for that championship title. Now, Mercedes boss Toto Wolff warns Red Bull no team will run away with 8 titles again, and this is the third story in today's video where Mercedes boss Toto Wolff thinks the F1 cost cap regulations will prevent a run of one team domination similar to this one his outfit enjoyed. The German manufacturer wore through an unprecedented streak of success by winning every F1 world title on offer bar won between 2014 and 2021, with Max Verstappen's driver's title triumph last year denying a perfect suite of 8 consecutive world championship doubles. Mercedes' winning run came to an abrupt end in 2022 amid a radical overhaul to the technical regulations, with the team slipping to 3rd place in the constructors' standings behind Red Bull and Ferrari. Red Bull might have run away with both world championships in the first year of F1's new era, but Wolff is confident the combination of the cost cap and wind tunnel restrictions will stop another period of dominance. It's a relative competition, Wolff said. We know who our competitors are today, there will be others tomorrow and after tomorrow because of the cost cap limits that have been set, and this is what the sport should be. Not one team, not three, but maybe 5 in title contention. The landscape has changed. I don't think anybody will run away with 8 championships in a row going forward, and this is the way that regulations have been designed. Mercedes will have more wind tunnel time compared to their rivals due to the finishing lower in the championship, coupled with a penalty for Red Bull, and Wolff is hopeful his team can capitalize to make gains over the winner. I think it's harder because you can't really invest more in order for the outcome to come quicker, he explained. But I think how the aerodynamic regulations are designed and the penalty that they've gotten, it's 25% less wind tunnel, and that can have an effect. The way that the regulations, the wind tunnel or ATR restrictions have been set in place allow teams that are further back to really make a big jump compared to the front runners. That's also the reason why we will see much closer championships in the future, because if you are last, you will have 50% more, 40% more. So clearly there's an advantage we have to utilize. It is a given that we can utilize it, who knows? So Mercedes definitely have a huge advantage coming up into next season, and they're definitely going to try to use that advantage and actually find a way to get back to the top. And I think it is possible with everything that Mercedes have been doing. They have some of the best drivers in F1 right now in George Russell and Lewis Hamilton, and they definitely will have a car and team principle to back that up. Now getting into the fourth story on how Mercedes struggles influence Russell's dynamic with Hamilton. George Russell admits that his dynamic with Lewis Hamilton may have deferred had Mercedes had a more competitive car in 2022. Russell stepped up to the Silver Arrows following a 3-year stint with Williams, replacing Valtteri Bottas as Hamilton's teammate. While the team had previously dominated the sport in recent years, having won 8 consecutive Constructors' Championship between 2014 and 2021, the 2022 campaign proved more challenging with the W13 unable to match the pace of Red Bull and Ferrari's challengers. However, the struggles that Mercedes face, they may have an odd positive impact on the relationship between Russell and Hamilton. I think for sure the dynamic between me and Lewis would have been slightly different had we arrived at the first race and had the fastest car in the grid, Russell said. Russell believes though that the difficulties faced by Mercedes in recent times have brought the team together. There's been a huge amount of late nights throughout the season, a lot of tension and time between drivers, teams, designers with regard to are we right on the tracks? Do we need to be doing something different? Do we need to be more drastic? And these were very difficult conversations, but we came away growing a lot closer. And I think this is fantastic to see due to the fact that Hamilton and Russell are definitely going to have more years to come. Hamilton isn't looking to retire anytime soon, and he definitely wants that 8th Drivers' Championship under his belt. So George Russell and Lewis Hamilton are definitely going to be more acquainted as the seasons go on. And when it comes to George Russell and what he can provide for this team, he can definitely do a lot and even at times beat Lewis Hamilton. Obviously, you want to see Lewis Hamilton win that 8th Drivers' Championship, but definitely George Russell is going for that #1 spot as well when it comes to Mercedes coming back full fire next season. So thanks so much for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon. Peace.